No, all right, thank you.
Do we want to awkwardly talk about our feelings?
Why don't you start? We'll follow
Well, did everyone have a good finals week? Yeah.
No.
Well, that went well.
My finals aren't over yet.
Are you also doing Kazakhstan or?
They start a week early and a week late at MJC, which is dumb.
Yeah, my friend Robert is taking a math class from there, and he's baffled by the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, I've always been baffled by Delta.
Right.
They're pretty much obsessed with the flea market and also the whole Silk campus thing is
Four. Oh, well, actually three, because I found ATS. Yeah! Operation Green's here. Yes.
So two more.
Oh. Where is Will? Oh, well, AGS is in the international room right now, but they're coming. And then Will. Yeah. Oh,
There's
you
Will.
really? Kidding me. It's not ringing in here, so we're safe. I'm just kidding.
You gotta be kidding. I posted my home ticket.
I know. No worries. I'm so sorry, James.
I think it's important to start with the national anthem. It doesn't have to be ours.
Doesn't have to be ours.
It could be a good one.
Are we taking drugs or did it alarm really happen? Now stop.
Yeah, I know, it really is.
I think in your case, I don't see a reason to limit our options.
Bible, if there weren't a camera here, I'd flip you the bird.
I don't think it's scheduled recording yet.
I'm not taking that chance.
Are you kidding? We could solve California Community College funding problems with a student government-based reality show.
Oh, you probably could. You probably could.
Wow. X that on YouTube or something. Get a Kickstarter thing going and you make a little bucks. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If you really want to do that, try it.
Think about it. You've got it. You've got people are way too convinced of their own worth.
Yeah.
All right.
People who are even worse in real life than they are acting. And the ability to cry for no good reason.
Anywhere you want to sit.
Add some healthy spray tanning episodes, and we've got
All I need is love.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out sick for those spray tan ones.
Oh, okay.
People will say, "Tasty."
So it's a fight, like a cat fight. Like wow.
That's why student government is
All
the
right.
perfect set.
I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 2:30. Hopefully.
Assuming the alarm stays on.
Okay, so again, in no particular order, Alpha Gamma Sigma, present. Administration of Justice, Aikido,
Here.
Leadership Experience, Astronomy Club, here. MJC Democrats,
Fabulous.
All right, George Michael.
Freedom Forum,
Present.
Gamers,
Here.
Geology Club,
Here.
Young Liberties, present. Black Student Union is not
Gonna be a
here,
party.
already. Anatomy Club, not here. Psychology Club, not here. The Gathering, not here. Student Equality Organization, not here. Judo, not here. Respiratory. History Colloquial Society, not here. Latter-day Saints Student Association, not here. Visual Arts, not here. CARE,
Here.
Young Farmers, Operation Green, Anthropology Club,
Present.
Music, Chi Alpha,
Here.
Anime,
Here.
International Club is not here. College Republicans, not here. Phi Theta Kappa, not here. Federation of Engineers,
Here.
NAMI on Campus,
Here.
Trio, MJC Guild,
Here.
and Vocal Music Club. Okay, that forms the slide.
Awesome. So we'll move on to adoption of the agenda. I sent this out like last week on Wednesday. If you guys remember it. If you need a chance, go ahead. If not, I'll ask for any objections to adopting the agenda. Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. So we'll move on to public comment. Brown Act 5495. The segment of the agenda is reserved for public. Interclub Council within its jurisdiction, a time limit of 2 minutes per speaker and 10 minutes per topic shall be allotted. Does not permit any action to be taken nor extended discussion on an item not on the agenda. The Interclub Council may briefly respond to comments made and questions posed. Are there any members of the public in the room who would like to address this at this time? Yes.
Andrews, I'm the senator that's actually working on trying to get the parliamentary training together. After talking with the parliament, he's going to be out of town, basically on a cruise with his wife for their anniversary, and he won't be back. So it's going to get delayed at the end of January, beginning of February, so it may end up just being one session as a combined session. But once I get more details, I will know the ICC and the Senate. So if you have any questions, I can answer those, or as I get more information, I will let you know.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to at this time? Yes.
I just want to introduce myself. My name is Martha Robles. I'm the Dean of our Enrollment Services, and if you don't all know, more recently I've been given the responsibility of Enrollment and Campus Live. I'll be hearing you speak out on some of your items if I see that they need some further discussion. Okay?
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to address the body at this time? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Those were also sent out last week. You guys have a chance to approve them? Are there any objections to approving the previous minutes? Abstentions? Hearing none, they are adopted, or approved, whichever you want to say. So we'll move on to presentations and introductions. We have Senator Manriquez.
Hello everyone. But this time for science, math, and engineering. I wanted to do a senator project that would enhance all of the club's fundraise. So my idea for that, I thought it was going to be canceled, so I'm not really prepared. So this is just me winging it. I'll come back next semester with more information once I have everything ready. But basically what I want to do is have a spring festival. It'll be Friday, March the 20th, and kind of what I want everybody to do is decide as a club for that day, and then if they need help with some of the stuff that they need for fundraising, so let's say they're going to have a cafe or they're going to do some other type of cool thing, whatever you guys want as a club, to please let me know, and hopefully once I get it all together, I'll be able to make it happen. So that's just so it's hopefully going to happen. Once I start, I will you guys with if you guys give me all that information, I can present it as a budget breakdown to ASMJC in order to get started. Thank you.
Awesome. Are there any other questions for Senator Menendez? All right. If not, we'll move on to special orders, review of the student senate agenda. So I didn't attach this item because it wasn't sent to me in time when I sent out my agenda, but the agenda was sent out. It should be on their Weebly website, I would hope. But if not, I can read off the items that they have. I believe. Yeah. Okay. So they have under their executive a Berry Hill plaque, next semester meetings, and president stipends, stipend recommendations. They have, that's all under executive. They have nothing under legislation. Under finance, there's $1,000 procedure for ICC and Senate for spring 2015. Not to exceed $500 for refreshments for the parliamentary and procedure. Also not to exceed $1,500 for Great Valley Museum Gala fundraiser. Not to exceed $1,000 for dry straw bags. And then there's a not to exceed $750 for Martin Luther King. I believe it's a sponsorship, and then not to exceed $1,000 for Chi Alpha for Chi Alpha's National Winter Conference, and not to exceed $10,000 for the 14th Annual Black Caucus Leadership Conference in February. And let's see, not to exceed $1,400 for I'm so sorry. I say your name so wrong. Farms and broadcasting equipment. And then nothing under operations, nothing under activities, nothing under communications, and under interclub council, it's to ratify MJC Musicians Guild and Music Club. So that is the student senate agenda. Sorry, I read it kind of fast. Yes.
Gala for the Great Valley Museum.
I sent an updated copy like 3 minutes after that. I have a copy of the agenda, and the updated agenda was posted on the display piece as well. Would you like them?
We'll get it on later. All right. As long as I know it's there, okay. I got a question on the Black Caucus. It's something that ASMC has decided as a matter of practice. My question is, why is it treated as a senator project this year? As a senator project, and its funding mechanism coming out of Fund 71 special projects, when usually it's just a general thing that MJC attends, and it comes out of cultural diversity or Fund 72's conference account.
So I would direct that question to, because I don't make the agenda, and I'm not their finance chair. I would say come out of the conference account, but Luis, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, so generally speaking, well, hi everybody, my name is Luis Sobriello. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the president for MJC. Generally speaking, when I go off and I get an AIR, I go ahead and copy verbatim what's in there and what's written there distinctively. That way there's no back and forth on whether or not I went off and wrote it down incorrectly in the agenda. That's the way it was presented to me. I do know that one of the club members that's in BSU is a senator, and part of the conversation was going on there. I know the BSU member just went off and came in. Hopefully they can go off and explain a little more of why it's being option.
Yes. Why it's being a senator project and coming out of Fund 71 special project?
Well, Camille is one of the senators, and she is a member of the Black. She's a member of the BSU, but she's also the team we have is our chairperson to own. And the team is for us to make sure that the region chairperson is to be able to do certain things. But she wanted this project to make sure that we was able to as part of this, and she's part of that leadership team. So this is one of her projects that she wanted to do, to make sure that we, as members, and also some of the members of the student body, to be able to go to this leadership. So it's similar to the same thing as us going to GA, General Assembly. But the Black Caucus is a conference, a leadership conference for all students of all races, and it's a diversity type of organization. So she asked us, could she take this on as a project, and we said yes. And so we're just trying to make sure we go. Last year, this time, there was another senator to have the same project. Taylor A. Memo, she had the same project as one of her projects also. And with the difficulties of us going back there, it's because of some paperwork that was part of that, which enabled the Black Caucus, the Black Student Union in order for us to go. But this year, we're trying to make sure the paperwork is done. The Thanksgiving dinner, same project that most of the senators said they're just relapsing for the last same thing. It's just a project that another senator had last year. So this is the same thing.
So, to be clear, I strongly support going. I think it's a need to make sure that we're sending students. My concern with it being a senator project is as though decided to prevention, that it's something that should be the responsibility of the entire Senate to make sure that we're doing. My only concern is that the implied message that I could be sending, there are a couple of possibilities. One is that it does not wish to take it up as a body item on its own, so it is being delegated to senator project. The other is that the senator is planning something that we should be going to anyway, and now won't do another project on campus.
That's not true. That senator is.
So I'm just laying out what my concerns are, and if there are ways around it, that's great. How can I express myself properly on this? I want to make sure that we're not simply in a situation where senators do things that would be happening anyway, and then claim that as a project. Because part of the purpose of the project is for senators to bring something new, to develop something new on the campus. And when we've gone to the BSU conference year after year after year, it's expected that we should go.
Well, that's not true because we suspect.
Yes, sorry. We have a queue. So please direct your comments to the chair.
Apologies.
And Hires for Liberty, and then BSU.
I just had a question, and maybe you want to direct it to him or the senator. They're here, but I don't think they are. When the Student Senate, was it submitted as coming out of that specific, or was it just a conference?
As far as what account is coming from, up to this
It said senator project on the AAR. Whenever it goes off and has the senator project on it, it defaults to senator project.
That's coming out of is special projects. It's typically used for senator projects, but it does not specify that it has to come out of there. I would kind of side with Member Varble that this item is a conference and it should come out of seminars and conventions.
BSU, did you say?
Yes, so what you guys are saying is, well, then for this senator to for this project to come out in another area, is what you're trying to say?
I believe that's what we're trying to say. I believe what Mr. Barble is trying to say is that he does not believe that the conference should be a senator project because we kind of normally annually go to. I remember Taylor doing that last year, having her with that project for her. It was more of we want to go to this conference and I'm gonna fill out all the paperwork and stuff. And I believe the line item last year did say seminars and conventions.
Well, Speaker, what we saw last year and did not happen last year because we didn't go last year. But if it came out of another area, then we need to let that senator know that this should come out of another area and not this particular area that this coming out of. So I will be Senator Dana to readdress it where it should go and where it should come out of, if that's what it should become. In fact, I think she's here, so
Whose phone is that?
mine.
That's why I kept talking, like, okay, this is awkward.
James?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just so we don't spiral so much out of control, I move that we support all items under Finance C. Business consideration, Section C, Finance, with a caveat that for subsection pertaining to the that we recommend that it be taken out of seminars and conferences, and also that we support the ratification of MJC Musicians Guild and Vocal Music Club.
Alright. Awesome. So it's moved in second. Are there any objections or any abstentions to approve? That motion is approved. So we'll move on. Are there any other questions about the student agenda? Okay. I'm sorry. Geology? Yes. So if you guys want me to forward it to you, I can forward it to you. If not, it should be a display case, and I hope it's on their website. It's not. So I'll let them know that it's not on their website. Are there any other questions about this? Yes, Pirates for Liberty.
Okay, so do we know for sure that it's not on the website because
I'm on it right now.
it's on it and it's not?
I see the agenda for 12:09.
Per the Brown Act, it needs to be on the website at the same time that it's posted and given to the public. A specific question to an item, if you guys are going to review the president's stipend recommendation, we have an item similar to that on our agenda today. And I did send an email to you and the rest of the Student Senate asking for the supporting documents. So if you could get that for us, it would help us do our job. Subject matter jurisdiction of your meeting. Could that be done?
Yeah.
Before our meeting, like before we get to the item?
Before
On our is item 9, business consideration and possible action. C under that, we will be reviewing the stipend recommendation.
Do you want me to produce?
Well,
I don't have it. I don't have it prepared already. I am waiting on 1 or 2 of the last budget breakdowns that will often document PDF that I usually will open and project for that Friday.
so another reason why I emailed you is because, again, per state law, you need to provide all supporting documents in the agenda packet, and all you did was send out the agenda. There was not even minutes or anything. It not only prevents the members from preparing for your meeting, but also us reviewing your agenda, and minutes. We could only review your agenda, not the minutes, none of the supporting documents, nothing like that. Are the minutes available?
So,
Okay, since we all Pirates for Liberty.
sponsorship. The first time that this organization went there, we took a lot of club representatives from the ranks of Black Student Union. I'd like to see that happen again. And then also for the Great Value Museum, is there any idea of tickets or how many people will be able to go on its table? Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know exactly how much tickets are, but the Geology Club is with the Great Valley Museum, and we were told that they're quite expensive.
Yeah.
When was it? You said it was 150.
Yeah. So for this gala, it's $150. Yeah, I
Per
know.
person.
Per person, yeah. Not a couple, just one. How much are they? So if they're approving $1,500, you divide 150 into
But it says-
1,500.
So it's table.
Okay, so I guess all the tables have 10, yes. Member of the public?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, of
All
course.
right. Ladies and gentlemen, this $1,500 table will go towards the Great Valley Museum. The package as it is right now will go towards an 8-person, and it will be divided into. Of course, we want to go off and do it. It will be into a mix between student government, ICC, and general student body population. A 2-3-3 mix, and we'll go off and let, once approved, we'll go off and discuss that as well. Again, it'll be all inclusive with both the Senate, the ICC, and the general student population.
Yeah, like that kind of gave an idea of like who we're going to be looking at for it, but do we know how they're going to be selected?
Yes, go ahead.
We'll go off and this event is scheduled for January 17th. So if approved by this Friday, we'll make sure to go off and send it out to both respective bodies, and then also make an announcement to our student population, and go off and do a selection process with an advisor and a third party, so that we have a clear panel of entries.
Electronic
A
music.
quick question, it's a 1,500 table, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
The table's $1,500, right?
It's 150 per seat.
And the tickets are 150 per seat. So how come it's 8 people at this table and not 10?
That's just the package that they go off and offer.
So we're paying extra money for less people.
So I can speak on this. This is a format to the one used for Summer Synod. If any of you have ever attended or volunteered at that, what MJC is paying for is they're not actually paying for a table, and they're not paying for individual tickets. What they're actually doing is they're sponsoring the event, which is a little bit expensive than if you as a sponsor. And I don't know the specifics of this event, if or the dean can speak to this, but I would guess that it's probably to raise funding for SME, or probably the foundation is involved, and the foundation has a lot of fundraising in terms of stuff for scholarships. Money is going into a place that's going to benefit students in the end, and I think that's MJC as a body supporting scholarship money for students. Details as to how seats are picked, well, we pull them out of a hat. I have a lovely hat right here, if need be.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns about the Student Senate agenda? All right. So we'll move on to item B. As you guys already heard, that the minutes weren't sent out, and I believe Allison said they're not on the website.
I didn't see them, I was looking.
Thank you. So we will, if there are any objections, we can postpone that till next meeting. Here again, we'll postpone that item. There's club reports. Which club wants to go first?
I will.
All right, geology.
Geology Club is assisting the Great Valley Museum. January 17th, we're serving or being servers. We're also going to be helping with the gem and mineral show in March. And we're also teaming up with the Anthropology Club, and we'll be taking a trip this summer to New Mexico, Grand Canyon, and surrounding areas. And so we had 3 barbecues last semester, and they were all very, very successful, especially the one at the Wild Planet Day. we made like over $800 there. So, we are going to be having to fill a position because our ICC representative has moved to Illinois. So that's why I'm here as the president. And that's about it.
Awesome.
Oh, we will be hosting, I'm sorry, and probably because it's helping us too, whether, I don't know if they know, but we're going to be helping Senator Jake Cook with his student, I think it's a student tutor awareness day barbecue, so we'll be doing the barbecuing for him. For that. So that's it.
Which way do we want to go?
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
I got nothing.
So, you guys are on the agenda to be ratified through the student senate, and then
Yeah.
hopefully you guys get ratified and then have your club account. Awesome.
And Ms. Darby has nothing to report.
All right.
Nothing to report.
Nada.
We are actually getting things ready for next semester, planning a few fundraisers and informational forums for the Americans, to basically raise awareness on certain issues, because even though the election is over, politics don't stop. And we're also hoping that once the vacancy of VPL, Vice President legislation is filled, we can work closely with them, talking about bringing awareness of things that are going to be on the legislative calendar, which starts in January, to the students, and probably work with you too, Madam External Affairs Senator for Region 5. And finally, on a separate note, not necessarily pertaining to the club, but I would like, and I'm sure that all members of the ICC will join in our thoughts and prayers, being with Executive Vice President Weaver, who has been out sick for several weeks, going into surgery, I believe, today. She's had it done. So our thoughts are with her and her family, and we wish her a speedy recovery. I myself, acting in my capacity as both ICC rep and as the de facto elder statesman of ASM. I don't have hair anymore, I can't toss it. I have been working to members of ASMJC, both in the ICC and the Senate, because one of the concerns students both here and outside have is the apparent discord that has been developing, what has developed. And at the end of the day, it's very important what we do, that everything we do can be pointed at clearly as something that will benefit students. And that it's so crucial that that be our focus, because once we do that, then we can lay aside small mistakes, we lay aside ego, we lay aside the need to always be right, which, believe me, can be difficult. It's not easy being but I strongly encourage all members of the Senate, the ICC leadership, and keep holding each other accountable. And when you being made or someone on a date, don't wait for them to do it and then crucify them for it. Intervene. Try to help them out. Because when one of us succeeds, we all succeed. And it doesn't matter if you're a club officer or an ASMJC executive. We're all in this together. Cue music.
Leadership is good.
We're planning for the spring trip to possibly to go to Los Angeles to visit Homeboy Industries and a center called the Lansing Street.
Oh. Is that all? Okay, Metro?
Right now, we're working on showing a film in campus, which we're going to co-sponsor with Black Student Union. It's based on Chicano movement with students. So right now we're working on it.
Cal?
Nothing to report. We're excited for next semester.
BSU?
Last night we went out, we was the host for the Stanislaus County Foster Care Association, which fed about 400 children last night. Down at the house, we had a wonderful time. It was really nice to see us give back to the communities, which is one of the things we do in our organization. In February, we are we're planning to go to the Black Caucus, thanks to Senator Dana. who has invited us to go. And also, which that is February 13th and 15th of 2015 of this upcoming year. And then on the 28th of February, we are also hosting the African Educational Conference here on campus, which will be at the Mary Stuart Rogers Building from 8:30 to 4:30. We're planning some exciting things for the students. Last year, we tried to get, I think they had a host about almost 600 to 800 students. This year, we're trying to do the same. Education conference this year is supposed to be something different. We're going to do tours of the agriculture department on the West Campus, and also, if we can, we try to do something at the science building. So we're excited about that. And this, and then in December this year, this upcoming week, we're going out to feed the homeless at Marshall Park, which is out there on Sutter and Prescott. So if you guys like to come out and volunteer some time, I know the school will be out for most of us, but if you guys like to come out and volunteer some hours there, some community service hours, we appreciate it. If you cannot, Measure's going to help us with that, so we're looking forward to that next week. We wish you guys a wonderful holiday.
Thank you.
Concerts and whatnot, hope to be more organized this time, but then let's hope by next semester the bureaucracy gets a little easier, but I'm going to put it up much hope for that. So that's about it.
Yeah, Emily, I'm sorry. Federations of Engineers.
Nothing to review.
Operation Green.
Yeah, we're trying to plan some fundraisers, and we're also looking into trying to get solar panels for the school, both campuses. And we recently tried to get a field trip, but we couldn't get our funds, so we're having trouble with our funds.
I'll write that down.
Really? Okay, so the week before Thanksgiving and the week afterwards, we did different drives on campus. I was out there a lot, if you saw me around. I'm also here today because my ICC rep is in Texas, and she's been on and off in Texas, which is why we've been late and stuff. So I think I'm just going to take it over and be here all the time, unless we find someone. So you might see my face more. But yeah, back to the drives. We got a lot of donations, and special thanks to gamers, because we got like a whole ton of stuff from you guys. And yeah, 5 boxes of food for Salvation Army, and I swear like a whole truck full for Haven and Toys for Tots. So that was really good. And this Saturday we had a fundraiser at the Queen Bean, and raised like almost $100, and we didn't have to pay anything towards it. We just had local bands come out and play. And then we're also planning some activities with geology and trying to raise fundraising so we can do scholarships for our field studies this summer.
All right, so Freedom Forum that not last week, but the week before, that was our last meeting of the semester. We will start back up, and we're going to be kind of doing a little bit of what MJC Democrats are going to be doing and College Republicans, because we are a nonpartisan club. We are also still planning our scholarship dinner. It will be in the end of March, so right before our ASFJC elections. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Freedom Forum. Pirates for Liberty? Right. No problems.
So we had a new officer team elected, so the new officers met yesterday with our advisors and pretty much planned the whole year, got our theme for the year, our team shirts with our offices and our names on them. So pretty much just got the whole year outlined and ready to go. So looking forward to next semester.
Awesome. Thank you. Alright, did we miss any clubs? Alright. Standing committee reports. Anybody? Yes, James.
Legislation still has yet to meet.
Yes. So there is no vice president and there's still no acting vice president?
Well, I was going to mention that we don't need either a vice president or an acting vice president to meet, because the committee did have a vice chair.
Yeah.
So the vice chair can still call the committee to meet, even in the absence of a vice president or an acting vice president, which in light of items coming up is going to be extremely crucial if we can get that handled.
Finance. I know, what was it? It was Gamers sits on finance? Yes.
Finance usually meets before each of the Senate meetings. We review everything, go over that, so we'll probably be meeting before the next Senate meeting to go over everything.
Awesome. Activities. I know Kyle sent out a doodle poll because I was on that doodle poll. I'm assuming that they're having a meeting hopefully before like the school closes or as the school opens in January. But other than that, I don't know what activities is really doing. Communications.
Well, the communication committee is, we're working on a time for everybody to come together. But if you notice, we are being filmed, taped, and this is one of the projects that, one of the things that the communication committee is doing, making sure all the times between meetings of things are done, that other students can be aware of what's going on, both campuses. So we thank that to our VP of Communications. And we have some new equipment that we're working on to make sure that we can get everything broadcast a little bit better on things like that.
Awesome. And then operations, we currently have no ICC representatives that sits on operations, and she would like to have members. I know that she told me that her meetings were on Wednesdays from 12 to 1. I don't know what it's going to be for next semester, but I know that operations does typically schedule like a standard meeting day and time. They just don't meet. Yes.
Would you like me to see if she's still in the office and go get her?
No, that's fine. Yes.
Just to remind the clubs that if you do a standing committee seat, you are actually exempted from one of your projects that you're required to do a year. So if you sit on a standing committee, that's less work for your entire club, and you help the Senate function.
And then you also get a vote. So if you like, for example, the operations committee is trying to put in those water filters. If you ever been to Chico State, like you put your water bottle and just comes out like a sink. If you're against it, then you can be like, no, I don't think that my club will like that or whatever. But if you're for it, then you can be like, yeah, I'm all for it. And if nobody's against it, at least you have a voice. So think about it. All right. Yes.
What is the operation exactly? You're in charge
Operation of the school.
They fix things on campus. If anything's broken, you'll
I'm sorry,
know.
what?
Yeah.
They fix things
Oh,
on
they
campus.
fix things.
If something's broken, you'll know they fix it.
Or like the fountain out there, like the one.
it's where you get the
That's
ice
okay.
chests and you guys need ice chests.
They're basically the logistics committee. They handle everything from making sure that our computers work to making sure, well, ASMJC's computers, making sure that we have appropriate printing supplies, ink, making sure that we have items for events, including ice chests, making sure that our dishes are available. If you do an event and you don't clean up, they're the ones who will find you and crucify you for giving us moldy equipment. They also take care of just spot checking things on campus so they can see that can make campus life more enjoyable and more make a better learning environment for students. So it's kind of a catch-all club. It's not necessarily the most glamorous club, but it does serve an essential purpose. Club committee.
Yeah, go ahead.
She's not here at the moment, but do you think she'd be up to, reworking the meeting times for?
So the Wednesdays from 12 to 1 were based on her senators. So she did a doodle poll for like the whole semester. So I'm pretty sure she'll be doing that again next semester, and that the meeting times will change. And then if any ICC representatives want to be on that committee, then I will send her your information so that way you guys can also be connected to that doodle poll, so that way like your schedules will work out as well. Yes.
Madam Speaker, even if she does not have an ICC rep on there, she still has to host a meeting, am I correct?
Correct.
So what is the excuse?
Well, if she doesn't have all her senators there or a quorum within her senators, then then that can be an excuse for not holding one, but if she does, then I don't see an excuse. Do you have a question on two?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Ms. Rouse,
It's Rao.
Rao, we'd like to know, or what the BSU would like to know is that we was asked that if for a representative to come to sit on your committee. And my question is to you is, even though you don't have ICC members on your committee, don't you still supposed to hold some meetings? And if that's true, then why aren't you holding those meetings?
It's very hard to meet these meetings. I mean, my senators, I do my scheduling through my senators. A lot of times my senators can't make it. I have 3 senators. And if I even have one missing, I still can't do it. I would much rather have ICC reps on there because they're reliable and they would have a voice in the decisions that happen on this campus. I have been asking for ICC reps this whole entire semester and I haven't gotten any.
MJC Democrat.
Madam Speaker, which standing committee? Well, I would just like to point out that this body is a bit on the verge of being hypocritical. If we are going to call out or attack any officer for not having committee meetings, which is one, a valid thing to do if it's not taking place, but in the same spirit, making sure our house is in order, we bear responsibility if meetings aren't happening and the reason is quorum. Why have we not sent officers? Because the ICC reps that are sent could easily make sure that quorum would not be an issue for the committee. So before we start trying to haul executives into the Inquisition, we should probably make sure that we are doing all we can as a body to support their functions.
So this item, I'll address that. This item has been on. I've asked every time we've had a meeting if any officers or any ICC representatives were able to make these meetings, and nobody has. I cannot force them out of their classes to go to meetings that they cannot attend. I saw electronic music and then MJC Democrats.
I'll have more time next semester, so I'll be able to help out.
So
I would have last semester, but I was tied up with other things.
yeah. So are you saying you'd like to be on?
Operations, yes.
All right. So add Democrats, geology, astronomy, and then Chi Alpha.
I was also just going to remind the body that it's the club that sits on the standing committee. It does not necessarily have to be one of you. Presumably, there are at least 9 other people besides us at this table in our clubs. So, assuming you're already sitting on a standing committee, we need to be making sure we take this information back so that we can get these committees populated.
Okay. And then geology. Thank you.
So how many ICC reps and how many senators are on each committee? Do you know? Is it an equal amount of each?
No.
That's on the
I believe that there
website.
are 2 ICC members for each committee, and then 3 senators for each committee as well, and then, or 4. One of them has 4, I guess. I think there's like 26 of them.
Wouldn't it make more sense? I mean, I don't know if there's logistics to it, but if there was an equal amount of senators and ICC reps, then there would be a better chance of making the quorum for committees.
I'm not fully sure.
I mean, then would be equal representation.
All right. Yes, MJC Democrat.
I would certainly agree with Allison's point. If it didn't seem that we had trouble meeting 2 on a committee, much less expanding it to 3. It's one of those things where it's definitely something that we should look into, but we've got to, as a body, pull our end of, pull our share of the burden.
Okay. And then astronomy and Chi Alpha.
First question. Aside from attending the meetings, are members of the committee also required to attend the Senate meetings?
No.
It's
And
an optional extra and advisable if time. It's usually on West Campus, so in the TV room or the MSI on Friday.
Thank you.
well, I would also just like to voice my interest in being part of operations, just sending my information, assuming we can like change meeting times just a little bit.
It's dependent on us.
Wait, I'm sorry, electronic music. Can you please wait till we call it on? Okay. So, If you want to answer that question?
I can, and may I address?
Yes.
What I do is I send out a doodle poll for everybody, my senators, the ICC reps, student commissioners up there, and I have my meetings based on the time that you can make it.
Okay.
It's not me, it's the time that you guys can have it.
Okay.
And then if I find one that's compatible that every one of you has it, that's the time we're gonna have the meeting.
So I'll send my information to you then. Let's catch up.
Cool?
All right. Chi Alpha?
That was my question.
Yeah, I do a doodle poll.
All right. MJC Democrats?
On the matter of commissioners,
Mm-hmm.
how many committees have full complement of commissioners as of now?
I personally don't know of any. I heard that ASMJC was taking applications for commissioners. Interview process, no idea where that's going. But yes, Pirates for Liberty.
I know I sent in an email asking to be a commissioner on legislation and never heard back.
Okay. Anything else on? Yes.
Well, I put in the same application you did, and I was qualified and I got approved.
Okay.
So I'm sitting on the communication committee as commissioner. So
Yes.
I'm just saying, it works for all of us. I mean, I don't know what the procedures are for what, each one of us are doing, but the communication committee, we are doing things, and they do, sources, meetings and things like that. And if I'm not mistaken, I have a question to Vice President Ralph. You're a student commissioner?
I don't have any student commissioners.
You know?
No.
What was it about, you said you had a student?
No, I'd like to have 2 ICC reps and 2 student commissioners, so I could have a full. Right now, I barely have my senators.
So, and we can have our club members, any of the club members that are sent, or people there, go to her meetings, if I'm not mistaken?
MJC Democrats.
I'd say that perhaps because of the weird status of commissioners, that they pretty much only exist on the committees, that maybe legislation will probably take us up someday. We might want to look at making the process a little easier for the appointment of commissioners, because it's such a specific function that subjecting them to an application interview process almost seems overkill. And finally, I would probably voice some concerns at the possibility of people sitting as ICC reps or senators even doubling as a commissioner on a different committee, only because Mr. Tumlin said that he was a student commissioner on communications. If BSU held an ICC seat on communications, that could create a double vote potentially for the club. So that's just kind of one of those things to iron out. But at least we have someone who wants to be on a committee, who is on a committee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is what it is.
Yes.
I have a question. Can you, as the speaker of the ICC, appoint clubs to be ICC reps that sit on a committee? And if so, why have you not done that so far?
I can't do that, but the president can. Yes, Alex.
You can make recommendations to.
Okay.
That's one of the things that,
I know.
as of 3 or 4 meetings ago, the recommendations that I usually receive from you, former Speaker Wilbers, those were the ones that were in place. I have received an updated list, and part of it being because there were some vacancies on the committees that still needed reps. It sounds like, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, we do have a completed list of ICC reps for each committee.
Well, as of now, operations has 2 potential ICC representatives.
And what about the rest of them?
They all have 2.
They all have to. If you can send me that recommendation, and from there, I'll make sure to forward all that information to respective chairs and make sure that they're up and running, and there's 2-way communication with everybody.
Yes.
I just got a question. What were the 2 clubs that were interested in being on the operations committee?
Electronic music.
Wow, 5.
And Operation Green.
6.
I'm
Wow.
sorry, BSU already sits on the committee?
Oh,
Sit on
so
communication.
He's a commissioner.
commission?
No, BSU also sits on communications.
Okay, so we can do it.
Okay, I was just curious.
No problem. All right, anything else on standing committees? All right, moving on to officer reports. Which one of you guys wants to go first? Oh, okay. Well, the clerks are on the agenda, so I'll table this.
Well, like I said, the project I'm working on is making sure we get our binders. Ms. Warburg she just came back because she was sick due to illness, and so with her health, I've really been trying to make anything happen with that. I was making sure she was well, and she was coming back very healthy. So now that I see her back and with a smile on her face, she's going to continue to help me with the project. It is her project from the beginning. I feel that she should be leading this project because it is something that she has started. I just want her to make sure to co-chair this project with her, make sure we got our binders, and I know there's certain things that she needed to iron out with the business office as well as with other people on campus. So right now we're just waiting for her to finish her meetings and things like that, and I'm sure her and I will be communicating hopefully for by the upcoming school year, and then we'll be able to get those binders and everything is situated. That's it.
Geology.
Okay, I'm just going to add to that. The problem with putting the binders together is there's some inconsistencies in policies that need to be worked out with administrators, like probably Dean Robles and the business office and facilities and the advisors in ASMJC. There's some specific things. So if we put together a program manual or a manual right now, it would be ineffective in that some of it would not be clear or even be able to be utilized because it's inconsistent. And so there's some forms that need to be changed, I believe, and some other things that need to happen. And so being that I'm not the speaker, I don't really have the ability to go and call meetings with people. So I'll perhaps talk with Dean Robles after this meeting and we can see what we can do.
Are you finished? Okay. So we'll move on to address from the chair. All right. So I went to the executive council meeting on, I believe it was Thursday of last week or so. There they have appointed a new acting executive vice president, which is Vice President Mendez, who's the vice president of finance. So he's sitting in right now in order to conduct interviews for vice president legislation, so that seat can be. They also talked about the Berryville plaque, sorry, wrong way. And there were some ideas that were pitched, so they're going to be brought to the Senate, and I believe the Senate's going to vote on it and stuff like that. I also wanted to announce that I talked with Linda Hoyle, and she wanted me to remind all the clubs and club officers that the basketball tournament is going on. SMJC did sponsor some money for it, and what that got was all students with their student ID can attend the tournament for free. I also gave the Metro Club and ASMJC and the International Club a flyer about a conference at UC Davis. It is around like international students and dreamers, and it's like $25 for registration, which is fairly inexpensive, and all of the proceeds go to scholarships for students, specifically dreamers, and also go to AB 540, which is a bill that's kind of like around the dreamers. So I did that, and then I also, apologies, but I didn't attend the last ASMJC meeting because I got the stomach flu, but you did have Will and Andrew who attended, and I will be attending this ASMJC meeting on Friday. And I will also be attending a meeting tomorrow. It's between the executive board on ASMJC to discuss matters that are like controversial, I guess, like between members. So it's not like how do I say that? It's like a business meeting. So, and then I'll let you guys know what happens there as well. And that's it for my report. Does anyone have any questions? All right. So if there are no questions, we'll move on. There's nothing under unfinished business or consent calendar. And then we're under new business and consideration of possible actions, live broadcasting. This item was brought to me by the deputy. You want to just,
Me?
Yeah.
Yes. You guys, I guess my thought was this: since we have came to a conclusion that we would like to have our meetings here on the East Campus every Tuesdays, every first and third Tuesday. Because of that, it will be easier for the students that's on the West Campus to be able to see what's going on with the meeting within these meetings, and have a say, a part of the public also to have a say and see what's going on in our meetings. So I figured that since the Senate has their meetings broadcast, why can't we have our meetings broadcast at the same time? What it does is help those other students on the West Campus not feel so like left out, because we are stopping. We will be, meeting on this campus. It makes those students still feel part of what's going on in the school, on the school campus itself. So that was my concern, and I figured if we can come bring this to the body, we would, have a say and vote on it, say if we can have this podcast here on campus.
Yes.
So this is actually being broadcast simultaneously in the student center, or?
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Because if we are able, as if logistics or such allow. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll wait for you.
No, go ahead. I won't break the fourth wall.
Okay. So we basically, I don't know if you guys have watched the any of the Senate meetings online. We send that. We stream to YouTube to our ASMJC Productions channel right now. I have people. This is a light setup for us because I have people in the gym right now streaming a different basketball game right now. So they have most of my equipment. And then I'm in here right now for this meeting. So basically, for whenever I'm here streaming stuff, it goes to the ASMJC Productions YouTube page. It's very easy to find. If you go to YouTube and search ASMJC, you should find it. And then you'll see his live events. And basically, immediately once we get done with the meeting and once I hit the stop streaming button, the video is actually up there, and you can go back and rewatch it. So if you're James and you want to watch yourself talk more, then you can do that. And I think you will do that. So that's the same with the Senate meeting. So this Friday we will be streaming that as well as later today we have a men's basketball game, and then Thursday we have a men's basketball game as well. That's an MJC game that we'll be doing. So yeah. So that's, any questions about that at all?
So the live streaming option is amazing. I really like that because of the accessibility feature that it can provide. I would actually encourage Speaker Reed and President Arellano to possibly look into, because our bylaws do authorize teleconferencing, using this in conjunction with a program like CCC Confer could allow students on their campus to participate in the meetings via public comment even. And so they wouldn't really have to be passive observers. They could actually be able to call in and speak. So if we could get something like that going, that would be awesome.
All right. Are there any other questions under live broadcasting? All right. Hearing now, we'll move on to Club Rush. Vice President Brown told me that he wasn't going to be able to make our meeting because his car kind of broke down on him this morning. So he did tell me that he did turn in an activity sheet and that it's going to most likely get the end of January, just because Senator Cook has his project the second week, and then the first week all of the deans, like, how do you say that? Yeah, there's Institute Week or Institute Day happening. So he's looking at the very end of January to do a club rush. And then there's also talk about, like, you guys want to do a flash mob? Yeah? Does that sound like kind of like something that the clubs would want to do? Because I know that I'm going to try and convince Freedom Forum to do a flash mob. At least it isn't a mob.
It depends. Are we doing the hokey pokey?
We don't know yet, but we wanted to see first if clubs were interested in doing a flash mob before just saying, yes, we're going to do a flash mob, and then have like 2 people just break out dancing.
I don't care. I'll do it by myself.
Okay, so we're all, yes.
What exactly is a flash mob?
When is it gonna? Oh, what is it?
Yeah.
It's
amazing. Okay, so flash mob is kind of like your.
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so have you ever watched a musical and people suddenly burst into song and dance for no reason whatsoever? It's that, but in real life. So you're walking down the quad, and all of a sudden people start singing and dancing in completely choreographed and synchronized numbers, and you're like, oh, that's cool, and you go about your business. Maybe you throw money at them. You should throw money at them. Mostly me.
Yeah.
Large bills.
All right. So I'll let you guys know if anything else comes up with the flash mob. Most likely we'll pick a few songs like.
Anything but the Time Warp.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's where Club Rush is kind of at right now, and then also with Club Rush, there's the food's going to be provided. It's all going to be free for students, of course, and then the ICC members. There will be a sign-up sheet that your clubs will work, and typically the ICC members were able to go in and like cut the line. But then I guess there were some issues last Club Rush where like other club members weren't even working the booths and they just wanted to go before like they had to go to class. So that won't be happening this year. You guys will, your officers who are working will have to sign like a sheet saying when they're working, so that way when they go up to the table that we know that, hey, you guys aren't just trying to like not stand in line with the rest of the students. Yes.
One of the issues with the last Club Rush and food was the business office gave ASMC less money than they asked for, so they were freaking out about the possibility of not being able to feed everyone else who was going there. So we had to have other official people in ASMC growl at them to let us who've been here since like 7 or so in the morning actually get some bleeding food at 12 or 1 p.m.
Yeah. So that will hopefully get resolved at this upcoming Club Rush, and also Vice President Brown told me that there will be a barbecue pizza, or the other way around. So it's all going to come from Costco. It's going to be Costco pizza, and it will be like patties and stuff from Costco, like the vegetarian patties, the salmon patties, and then just regular patties. Do you guys have any other questions? Yes, and then yes.
My question is should we start writing down schedules of our officers in club, and is there like a time frame, or is it like an all-day event?
It should be from 7 to, I believe, 3 in the afternoon. So if your guys' club officers want to start disseminating that to the clubs, then you may. Electronic music?
I forgot my question. Brain thought. Hang on. Yeah, I forgot. I think, well, I'm supposed to sign up sheet, but I forgot what I was going to ask. Sorry.
That's okay. So it will be on both campuses. The first 2 days are on West, like always, and the second 2 are on East.
Oh, I remember my question. Sorry.
That's okay.
Are we still limited on who can cook? Is it still only people who are certified who can cook at this?
Yes, I believe so. I know that ASMJC approved money for Vice President Brown, John Irvin, I think President Raveto, to take a certificate food and get it. Yeah. Yes, Senator Andrews.
The CertSafe training was for Vice President Brown, was for John Griffin, and for Mitch Miller.
Okay, thank you. So those are the people who can cook.
So those are the only people that can barbecue?
I believe for
Club Rush. Yes, the Club Rush.
For Club Rush, yes, but if like your club is doing like a barbecue, then you guys
For Club Rush, so what if they don't want to?
What if
They were screwed?
Or they're busy or they're not here?
Yeah,
Should we get more people certified?
Yeah, we can definitely ask ASMJC to certify some more people, maybe club advisors or club representatives, and then also there is going to be pizza, so.
Could be ICC officers.
Do we have time to have other people certified before Club Rush? Is it supposed to be like the first week of school?
They don't actually.
1 second.
Last
Yeah.
week? Okay.
Just to clarify, I think the certified individuals need to be present, and they just make sure that everything is, all the rules are being
Right.
followed.
Oh, so other people can cook as long as they're certified. Thank you for
They
that.
have to have a certified person present.
Okay, that makes it fine.
All right, thank you. Anything else on Club Rush? All right. Moving on, we will, is that a hand? Yes.
I move to extend the time certain end of the meeting by 15 minutes to 4 o'clock.
Okay. It was moved to extend time to 4 o'clock, seconded by electronic music. Are there any objections to extending time till 4? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the time has been extended to 4 o'clock. Since there's no other questions under Rush, we'll move on to stipend recommendation. Clerk Campbell put this on the agenda. Do you want to take the item or?
Sure. So do you have anything prepared?
No.
So what will your stipend recommendation be? But what will your stipend recommendation be?
It's always the full amount for everybody.
And justification? Reasons for paying everyone the full amount?
It's written into our constitution and bylaws that everybody is entitled to their respective stipend recommendation based off of them meeting their office and their office requirements and their job description.
So you'll be reviewing minutes to make sure everyone's attending meetings, holding meetings, office hour time cards to ensure that everyone's doing their full amount of office hours, reviewing the entire Constitution and bylaws document to ensure that everyone is following the Constitution and bylaws, or no?
Yes, the office hour requirements are already in place. It's the same model we've used last year. The minute the officers come in, they get their office, they check in. The minute they leave, they go off and they get their time for that day signed off by the advisor. Though all those time cards are collected when the pay claim is going to be submitted, and the hours and the dates are verified, as well as the attendance for the committees and their Senate meetings. There are both the officer's signatures on the time cards. There's the advisor's signatures on the time cards. There are my signatures. My signature goes on the time card, and then it gets further reviewed by Dean Robles, and then also the people that go off in the process are pay claims. So it's verified by, at the very minimum, 5 people and 5 different sets of eyes.
Yeah, I have a question. And you might want to direct towards him. Why is this the first time that we will be reviewing a stipend recommendation?
Would you like to answer that?
Just because it was requested. I know it's part of the Constitution and bylaws that I go off and do it on a monthly basis. Just because of that. It is what happens to go off and put a stipend recommendation.
Are there any other questions about stipend recommendations? Yes, Democrats and then Metro.
So not having documentation, we can't really do anything ourselves on that. I would just encourage, sorry, excuse me. I would encourage the president to, as he does go about at least reviewing the stipends for the executive officers, that he note Article 12 in the ASMJC bylaws, which do specify that vice presidents who don't summon their standing committees, and that's different, I would say, from calling a meeting that doesn't materialize. But vice presidents who do not even attempt to call meetings forfeit part of their stipend. Given that a big part of our functionality issues this semester have been the failure of standing committees to meet, I think that that's a good way to hold vice presidents accountable at the very least, to try to make sure that our committees are meeting. Because at Senate meetings, it seems that there are items that don't go before standing committees that then turn into a committee of the whole when the minutiae are debated to a point that would have been more appropriate in the committees. So that's just what my suggestions to him, as well as review the documentation. And when you prepare it, publish it because it's public record. I think it's very important that all students see their elected officials holding themselves and each other accountable. That would be my recommendation as well.
Is that all? Metro?
So I just have a question. What exactly does this have to do with ICC?
So in the Constitution and bylaws of the Associated Student Semester Junior College, it says that the Senate members of the Student Senate, both executive officers and senators, shall receive a certain amount of stipend. And it also has the proviso that it will be approved by the Student Senate monthly since they get paid monthly. This item is coming up on the next Student Senate agenda, and we have the authority to review everything within their jurisdiction. That's why we have that item. Review of Student Senate agenda and review of Student Senate minutes. We, as Member Barble stated at the last meeting, we are one of the few checks on the Student Senate, so it's important that we review this item to uphold the accountability of the organization.
How about point of information?
Go ahead.
I want to kind of go on for, I know that I'm new, and you guys haven't worked with me, but I kind of raised the same question myself. I think if you want to address it as part of the agenda, it could be when you review the agenda, the Senate agenda, but I wasn't sure. I thought it was going to be something different. I don't know, let me back up to this specific agenda, but it says to stipend recommendations. I wasn't sure, but you do have to look at what's within your purview, and I'm still learning, so I'm learning at the Constitution and the role of ICC and the role of Academic Senate. So certainly, I would hope that if you have specific concerns, that those are addressed in the proper format, maybe being brought to my attention before we get too far into the system and we're getting ready to pay, because I would want to know as things happen and not at the very end. So I would ask for your assistance with that, and I'm just telling you what I'm recommending in terms of what I think would work best in the interest of the organization.
Fridays for Liberty and then Democrats.
Sure. One of the main reasons why it appeared on our agenda, like the Interclub Council agenda, as an official item, is because I did submit the item to the Student Senate, an approval of stipends, and typically every item that I submit does not make it to the agenda. So I wasn't actually sure if it'd be on this agenda for the Student Senate. And you are correct that, you know, if we are going to review something under the purview of the Student Senate, it would be under that item, Student Senate review of Student Senate agenda. But that's why it has its own item on our agenda.
Yeah, also, Martha, I got this item request before the student agenda was posted, so I didn't know it was on the student agenda. Sorry. All right. Any other questions on stipend? Oh wait, MJC Democrats had a question.
Just to provide some clarification, the ASMJC bylaws, Article 5, Interclub Council, Section 2, Authority, Clause B, states that the Interclub Council may advise the Student Senate on any matter that falls within the Senate's purview. And this harkens back to the days when the ICC had a full authoritative vote on matters, which during the reforms a few years ago was removed, but the Senate recognized the importance of the ICC as a body that provides institutional memory and accountability to a large extent on the Senate, and which is why that was placed here. And I would say, I didn't place the item on either agenda, but I would hope that the placement of the item is not dilatory in any manner, that it's simply our way of, as a body, of keeping the Senate on track, or even that sounded inappropriate, of assisting the Senate in the execution of its duties, because that's what the council is meant to do.
Are there anything else on stipend recommendation? Yes, Metro.
Is there any way we can get copies of that, of the Constitution?
Yeah, it's on their website, asmjc.weebly.com. Also, there might be some hard copies in the ASMJC office. Right. Any other questions on stipend recommendations? I just want to say that Freedom Forum has discussed this because we were concerned about legislation not holding meetings, since I do sit on legislation. And yeah, so I would take stipend recommendations back in as a club. How do I say this? As speaker, I think this is a big issue. As a club as a representative from a club, my club thinks it's a big issue. I definitely think that all clubs should know about issues that go on within student government, within interclub council, and whatnot. Yes, geology.
I would just say maybe, because I know there might be a few new ICC reps, you might want to clarify that when we're talking about stipends, we're talking about payment, they're getting paid, their paychecks. So all the senators and the executive councils of student senate who are elected by all of us, they all get a stipend every month. So stipend is a paycheck.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that they're on the same page.
All right. So if there's nothing else under stipend recommendations, we'll move on to constitution and bylaws. Once again, Clerk Campbell sent in the AIR. Would you like to speak on it?
Sure. Maybe the president would like to update us on the processes for establishing a confirmed set of constitution and bylaws.
Yeah, between the advisors and I, based off of that meeting with Vice President Thames, reviewing the process and looking at that, quite frankly, there's very little paper trail, both in a digital or in a physical format, and we're going back and reviewing that. As it is right now, we should be ready to go within the next week or two. Yeah. By January, I know that there was a mandate to go off and send out a report out by Monday. That has not been met yet, but we are working on this to go off and get that established.
Anything, because this is I don't know about other people, but this is a pretty big deal to me, because I feel like the Constitution and bylaws are the entire foundation for this very large organization of representing 24,000 people, has almost 100 members in officers and staff, and $500,000 in a budget. 500,000, yeah. So what is needed to actually establish a confirmed set of bylaws from this point after whatever's been done already?
Well, let me go ahead and clarify one thing. When we go off and we talk about the Constitution and bylaws in general, it's not the whole document that's really in question. The reason why we went about to go off and review this was mainly because of the resolutions process to go off and make amendments to the Constitution and bylaws. That's when we really went ahead and started looking at whether or not the set of bylaws, the Constitution and bylaws that we were working with were in place or not, mainly because the amendments that were being referenced out to, they were not documented. So as it is right now, it's a two-stage process. The original idea was to go off and try to track all those amendments so that we can reference them out and make sure that they had gone through the vetted process of both the ICC, the Senate, and if for some reason that doesn't provide any fruitful information, it would go back to us. The last set of constitutional bylaws that had been properly vetted and implementing those and reevaluating those changes, if any, have been made, and seeing the validity behind them.
MJC Democrats.
So, as this was spoken of at the last ICC meeting, I did, Executive Secretary Keith did send me a message to ask me about governing documents on the Friday following Thanksgiving. And following the ICC meeting, I did have a follow-up conversation separately with Advisor Irvin and with President Preliello. And what I advised them was that when the current Constitution was adopted, it was adopted by referendum of the students, documented. That's a clear start, clean slate. Immediately following that adoption, a new set of governing documents was adopted by the Senate because if you change the Constitution, you must have new bylaws because the bylaws are attached to a now defunct Constitution. And then for the duration of Kevin Sabo's term as president in office, agendas and minutes document each resolution that was presented to the Senate that dealt with governing document changes. Admittedly, a weakness in the documentation is that the text of the resolutions is not currently on the Weebly websites, and much of the documentation was lost when computers were moved and data just vanished. But we do have at least means of tracking what the agendas and the minutes, and fortunately, the titles of resolutions reflected what was changed, so we can at least track what amendments took place. And then finally, to be honest, one of the things that was brought up a lot in the previous meeting was a concern with the term updated as opposed to the term ratified or confirmed. And to be bluntly honest, from a parliamentary standpoint, while it's a semantic weakness, it's not a substantive weakness. There's nothing in the word amended or updated to suggest that the documents have lost their authoritativeness. And this is actually one of those items I would say is so indicative of why it's important that we have legislation able to meet, why the vice chair must call us, because the purview of legislation is to be the custodian of our governing documents, to review them periodically, to update them. So this would be, by making use of legislation in this way, that will allow us to conduct the review of the documents in an open and public manner. Because, to be perfectly honest, because of the role our governing documents play, if there's even a chance that administration is talking of suspending recognition of our governing documents, that's frightening. That's scary. And I'll leave out any parts about what I perceive as administrative overreach here. But this is something that we can take care of.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns about? Yes. Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, the last meeting we had, Mr. James was describing that we would take the documents or the last bylaw from year 2013, July 2013,
Yes.
and have it go from there, and let that government, let
We
this
would give that recommendation to the
correct. We recommended that this administration take those documents and use them as a guideline.
Yes, we
So,
did recommend that.
well, let me address this to you, Madam Speaker. I mean, you can address it to the right person. Did that recommendation go through, and are they doing it that way? Are they using that as a guideline, or if you need to ask the question, you should ask. Make sure.
So when the, Mr. Arredo, when the recommendation from the ICC went to the Student Senate body about the Constitution and bylaws, did you guys decide to accept our recommendation to follow all governing documents at last dated since July 2013, which would be the beginning of your term, end of Mr. Campbell's term?
The recommendation was taken into light. I can tell you that one of the biggest things when we look at the Constitution and bylaws is the referencing out to the updates, which it might be semantics. I truly understand where MJC Democrats are coming, but one of the biggest things that we've encountered is we've had a very challenging time actually going back to the minutes and seeing what was updated during that section. So some of those updates reference back to before 2013. It's an evaluative process that we're looking forward to. But the recommendation from the ICC was taken into account by both Advisor Urban, who was there at the time, and myself, and they have been voiced.
I just wanted to say that I think what James was saying is to go back to that referendum where the student vote. That's what we're trying to do, is look at that and look at the minutes forward to see if everything falls into place, and if it does, that's where we'll start. There's just been, I'll give you like 2 examples, and I think it's important to have appropriate documentation, but like an agenda has an agenda for one date, and then when you look for the minutes don't show up, but there's duplicate minutes with 2 different dates. So then we have to kind of try to figure that out. So it's just going to take a little time to match all those, because maybe it was just a typo, they forgot to change we always use the template, so they forgot to change them in that heading. So it's just doing that work, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So preliminary, the report is that we are going to go back to where that was the vote that the students took as a whole, and then try to move forward from there.
All right. So I have a question. The Constitution and bylaws that you're referring to right now, is that when it changed from 10 senators to 16 senators?
I don't know them enough. I'm to where there was that recommendation by the student body.
All right. Mr. Barble, I know that you were Vice President of Legislation at the time. Can you answer my question?
Well, yes and no. I don't know if that's where the Senate is going to make their or set their baseline, but in 2011, 2011, a new constitution was adopted by a referendum of the students. It passed overwhelmingly, so that took effect. At the Senate meeting following that, when the election was certified, a new body of bylaws was adopted. This was to get things ready for the 2011-2012 administration. During the course of Mr. Sabo's term, there were several amendments to the bylaws, not a lot of them, but there were several, and some of them were very important. One of them including the recognition of the ICC's standing orders and self-governing status, as well as including the bylaws that specify that the Senate recognizes our officers and our right to a place at the table. The following year, when Mr. Campbell was president, another referendum was held in which the size of the Senate was expanded. No, so the Senate had already been expanded under President Sabo. But the methodology was used using a very broad set of wording that said that the officer positions could be created at will. They had not been constitutionally established until afterward, in a second referendum that was held for the students.
Thank you. So, Dean Robles, what you're saying is we should go back to the first constitution bylaws that was voted on by the students?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we can go back to the referendum. And I don't have the history and the discussion that James had with John Irvin, so maybe I need to start there. Okay. So I can get those dates.
I can meet with you after the meeting.
Sure. All right. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns about the constitution and bylaws?
Isn't there a deadline for that?
Yes, so I believe it's by the second meeting in January, they need to have it resolved. If not, then I heard that there are some consequences.
Okay.
And what are the consequences? I would ask the clerk and your president, because I wasn't in the meeting, so I don't want to give false information.
I'll refer that to the question and say what's his recommendation for consequences. And
Sure. Yeah, by the second meeting in January, if you do not have a clean set of bylaws or governing documents in general, you basically invalidated the entire organization. So you kind of start to cease to function, and that includes payment. No officers of the Associated Student Semester in College will be paid.
Just to clarify, it was that the stipends wouldn't be there, but there's no discussion about this. I mean, there's no plan to disband the constitution and bylaws. It was just the stipends.
All right. Anything else on this item? Yes, Patrick.
So there was a recommendation to look at the 2013 Constitution?
Yes, last meeting, MJC Democrats sent a recommendation basically that was adopted by the body to the Student Senate to basically follow the Constitution and bylaws that last dated July 2013, which was the end of Mr. Campbell's term, beginning of Mr. Rebello's term. And so we sent that recommendation. It's up to the Student Senate to choose whether or not they want to follow it.
Where can we look at the Constitution and bylaws?
So you can find ASMJC's Constitution and bylaws on asmjc.weebly.com, or you can hopefully find all their governing documents on that website. Also, you guys, we are 1 minute until we run out of time. If there are no objections, can we please extend time to 4:10 in order to get through the rest of this agenda? Are there any objections to extending time until 4:10? All right. Hearing, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Is there an objection?
No.
All right.
Call the motion.
All right. All right. So if there are no objections to extending time, time will be extended to 4:10. All right. Hearing none, is extended. Yes.
I move to suspend the rule that prohibits us from taking up item 11F out of order.
11. Okay. Wait. I said it. Okay. So it was moved and. Can you repeat that motion?
To suspend we're going to basically suspend the order today. So I move to suspend the rule that prohibits us from taking up item F out of order.
And I second, and then I move that we move to item I.
Okay, so it was moved and second to rule item F out of order?
No. That we jumped to item F.
Oh, okay. All right, I get it. I'm sorry. It was a little confusing for me. All right, so are there any objections to going straight to item F? Hearing none, we are on item F, not to exceed $1,000 to Chi Alpha's National Winter Conference. So I received the AAR, and you guys also received like their resolution kind of status on why they should, why we should send a positive recommendation. Also, a budget breakdown is attached to it, and a fund request form, and all of these documents went to both Vice President Mendez and to the Student Senate. I didn't want to really print out like the whereases because it was emailed to everybody, and it was like 3 pages long, and it's like sustainability, woo! So I attached the budget breakdown for you guys. Are there any questions?
Where are you guys going?
LA. Also, Chi Alpha is putting down a lot of the money, and they're only short $1,000. And the $1,000 would be going to 8 students, basically registration fees, and $200 for transportation. Yes,
I have
Jill.
a comment that's because I would think that when you guys are doing budget breakdowns, so there aren't questions, just because I've come across this a lot, you should put down all of the information about the cost of the trip, whether that be, and then include if your members are putting money in, so that way it's all there. You could use that same budget breakdown for the business office, for ICC, for the Senate, Student Senate. So if you have the whole cost of the trip down, and then what you guys are putting into it, what everything costs, so it's like a full inclusive budget breakdown, it would be, then there wouldn't be so many questions about things. And that way, just because I know like with AGS even, when members are putting in $60, it wasn't included on their budget breakdown. But that's something that I know the ICC is really fond of, is seeing that members are contributing to their thing. So it's just a point of information, I think.
MJC Democrats and then PSCO.
I move that we adopt the resolution.
The resolution.
It's a resolution.
That's what I said when I read it.
All
Alright, so it was moved and seconded to send basically, or approve, not to exceed $1,000 to Chi Alpha's National Winter Conference. Are there any objections? Alright, hearing none, that is approved. So we'll go back to regular standing orders, which is Resolution M14-1 update. I wasn't at the last Student Senate meeting, so I will let Clerk Campbell and Deputy Tumblin report out on this because they are the ones who put this on the agenda. Which one of you guys wants to go?
Okay. So yeah, so the resolution that was adopted, or was originally started elsewhere and ended up here and was adopted by the Interclub Council and referred to the Student Senate, was heard for its like 6th time last meeting, and was moved to postpone indefinitely, and the motion passed. In fact, the maker of the motion is in the room. Do you want to speak, Mr. Roslin?
Do you have any questions?
Why did you move to postpone indefinitely?
I stated that in the Senate meeting.
Can you state it here?
Yes. Number one was because when that was brought to the Senate meeting, we asked for a hard copy, and it was promised to be brought. Another one, in my personal way, it was I was one of the sponsors for that resolution. And when the resolution was updated or fixed, as the Senate asked, but was not brought back to me before it was brought back to the table, and the author had did changes that the Senate had not asked for, and was not brought to me. Another one was I believe that it doesn't benefit the student body as a whole.
So that was the reasoning brought forth by the maker of the motion. The most concerning one, in my opinion, is the fact that he stated that we do not benefit the student body as a whole. I found that pretty offensive. I found other comments made within the office.
Please wait to be addressed by the chair.
Found other comments made by other officers, not necessarily in the meeting, but more so in the office, as to the role that not only the ICC plays, but the 3 officers play within the organization. It's pretty disrespectful. So yeah, that's the update.
Electronic music and then MJC Democrats.
Just to clarify, this is a resolution to rename the five-side
No.
lodge.
That's 14-2.
That one passed.
this resolution is the one, stipends for officers, and then also, there were other things like for senators in it.
So this resolution is about stipends.
Yes, and other things as well.
Okay.
Yes, so MJC Democrats and geology.
So just to, legislation did look at the resolution, and this is actually a case in point of why knowledge of process and adherence to process is so crucial, because legislation got the resolution after it had already been on the Senate when all government document changes are supposed to go to legislation first. We had items in the resolution that pertain to the ICC that the ICC hadn't looked at. The bylaw specified that ICC has legislative initiative on any matter that pertains to the ICC. So there were some great ideas and great concepts in this resolution that were plagued from the get-go by a lack of understanding of the process and failure to follow it. It also didn't help that when legislation did look at it, we looked at things that could be improved, because there were, like I said, there were great things in the resolution. Legislation did not meet again in time for the Senate, so it kept appearing in semi-perfected form before the Senate until it finally died an ignominious death. What I feel going forward, not to harp on this last resolution here, but it would behoove us to have talks with the Senate to find out if it was solely procedural, if there were content issues, if we can fix the content issues, and maybe because there were several different items, including, of course, there was a matter of stipends, there was also a matter of a complaint or judicial process or disciplinary process. There were other things pertaining to other projects or the way hours could be spent. These should be broken up into separate items. That way we don't necessarily chain things that people support to things that people may not support in the future. And I think that that's something that we can work going forward to make sure we can get a resolution that all parties can agree to. That way we're not in a situation where we feel that there are attacks or basically making sure we're not creating a sense of acrimony between the two bodies. That would be my recommendation going forward.
Alright, I just wanted to clarify, so at least the resolution about having a stipend for the executives of the ICC, that's what was being brought. Okay, because I believe that that's in the Constitution and bylaws that at least the speaker has a stipend, isn't it?
I don't believe so. Mr. Westford?
Yeah, okay. Also, guys, if you want to know what happens at Senate meetings, they're on YouTube. So if you were asking right now, like, oh, what was said there, it's on YouTube, so you can search ASMGC, go to ASMGC Productions, and there's the meetings there. It's a shameless plug, but it's all so. Anyway.
Are there any other questions about Resolution F14-1? Yes, Metro.
I still don't understand why there's an interest of getting paid when you start to be a position of being volunteering.
I'll let James answer that, and then
Okay.
Allison, you want to speak on it?
So there was a time when the chair of the ICC was a popularly elected executive, along with the others, and was eligible for a stipend. There was a decision that was made several years ago that the ICC would become more autonomous from ASMJC. And a big part of this was the fact that the ICC no longer had as much of an authority to vote as it did before. So it was decided that power would be devolved to the ICC, and the ICC would have the ability to elect its own officers and create them as it needed. And the Senate would allocate club development as basically the operating budget for the ICC, and there was no talk at the time of creating stipends for either the speaker or the other two officers. Now, that may have been a mistake, and the reason I say that is this. Stipends serve several purposes. One, they do work. They do office hours. They oversee our paperwork. They go to meetings on our behalf. They go to bat for us, not merely in the Senate, but to administrators and to the specter of the business office. Many of them still fight battles in this body, even though they don't sit in those seats. Past Speaker Wilders and others. So the question of why should they, or are they entitled? Yes, they do as much work as senators, more than some executives, And I've heard the objection that they're not popularly elected. We have an executive secretary who is paid a stipend who is not popularly elected. The secretary served at the pleasure of the Senate. Furthermore, the recommendation for stipends would be that it would come out of club development, which is the operating budget for this body, meaning that we have primacy over how it's spent. If the matter of the stipend was what caused the Senate to vote it down, what this potentially sends a message of is that the Senate is still willing to tell us that we do not have the right to legislate pertaining to club development. I think that it's something a bigger issue, that it's a matter of clarification, communication that can be fixed, but I firmly believe that any officer of this body that does work, that does office hours, that functions in every other way just like any other executive of ASMJC has the right to a stipend. And by the way, the stipend is not really that much. It's reimbursement for gas money.
Yeah. So with that, we did expire our time. We're supposed to end at 4:10, but I didn't want to be rude and be like, yo, cut it off. So,
Let's start the orchestra playing.
yeah, so unless there's a motion to extend time, then we technically are adjourned. All right. So there's no motion to extend time?
I'll extend time 5 minutes and everybody get it out.
All right, so time. All right, it was moved and seconded to extend time by
Last
5 minutes. Are there any objections? Hearing none, time is extended. If there are no objections, I would like to limit speaking to 30 seconds per speaker. All right. No. Are there any objections to limiting 30 seconds per speaker?
Get on with it.
There's an.
Only for members of the body.
Yes.
And members of the public who wish to speak.
Oh, no, 30 seconds. Everybody, 30 seconds across the board. All right. Thank you. So there are no objections? Yes. Okay. So we'll move to the objection. All right, so if you vote aye, you are objecting. So that means that no 30 seconds for everybody. And if, I'm sorry, what? If you're voting no, we're going to go to the main question. All right. All in favor, please just raise your hand for the objection.
For the objection?
Yes.
Oh, no.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So with that, it fails. So now we're moving on to the main motion, which is 30 seconds per speaker. All right. All in favor of having, when you talk, you only have 30 seconds to speak. Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. All opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. With your vote doesn't count. All right. So with that, division. Okay. All right. So division has been called.
Come on.
I'm sorry. This is
wasted 2
of 5.
Seriously, guys, we're wasting time. Get on with it.
Just let him talk.
Just let him talk. What's the thing?
It was already adopted by the body, so now it's a motion of the body. So the body needs to decide whether or not it wants to continue with the motion.
I
All
only
right.
call the vision because people do not seem to know when they were voting.
Yes. All right. So the motion is, please listen, 30 seconds per speaker on the topic. If you are in favor for that, please stand up. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, please be seated. If you are not in favor of that, please stand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With that, the motion passes. Can you please state it?
Here in your agenda.
So for public comment? All right, thank you.
Oh, is it only for
Yes. All right, thank you. So with that, the motion passes. We are still on Resolution F14-1 update. Does anybody have anything else to say on that? All right. Yes. Paige.
So for students who are not in clubs, how do they benefit from the resolution? Is there in any clubs or involved in it?
I'm sorry, can you?
So like for students who are not involved in any MJC clubs, how do they benefit from the resolution? Like how are they gonna benefit from it? Because then the centers, we do projects for the whole student population. So, yeah, perfect. So really quick, before you know what? I'll let them take it. Go ahead. Democrats and then geology.
So the tone suggests an ignorance of what the ICC does. The ICC functions and coordinates projects from not one senator, but from every single club on campus. We are all required to do 2 projects, by the way. 2, not 1.
All right, thank you. Geology, you got 30
So,
seconds.
if they're not in a club, clubs do things that benefit all of the campus, like AGS does. We have, blood drives, geology, we do barbecue. Those benefit all of the campus, all of the students, not just our club.
All right, thank you. Yes, Mr. Rivera.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go off and make some clarifying statements. The resolution for the amendments was originally dropped on us without a prior knowledge as amendments onto the original agenda. It was later presented as a combined resolution with 12 items. When you go off and you make amendments to your constitutional bylaws, traditionally you go off and you do them through one item at a time. And I just want to go off and clarify one thing. While it was primarily the stipend recommendations for the executive officers for the ICC that did hold up the whole resolution, I want to go off and clarify something. As the ICC, as members of that body, you guys can go off and, through your club development account, make the recommendation so that your officers go off and get paid out of the club development account. There were quite a few things in terms of office requirements and other procedural things that weren't addressed. That's why we didn't really move forward with it, and that's why ultimately it died in terms of that portion of the resolution. But again, when it comes down to club development, in your account, you guys have a little more leeway in terms of what you want to allot that money for. May it be for Chi Alpha and the $1,000 for the registration and transportation fees, or may it be even for the stipend recommendations for your 3 officers. There's a lot more leeway that you guys can go off and take with that. When it was presented to us, it was originally the stipends, the way it was written, they wanted to go off and have that money come out of the stipend line item, which we didn't really get an opportunity to evaluate the feasibility of that, because again, when it was presented to us, it didn't go through the proper channels.
MJC Democrats, did you have something, or are you good?
I just have a question for the speaker, for the president since he's here. If these items are reintroduced as separate items that go through the process of going through this body, legislation, and then to the Senate floor, will the Senate make an effort to meet with ICC leadership or use the committee as a medium to make sure we iron out these objections? Because to me, it sounds like there was just a lot of miscommunication or lack of understanding as to what the intent or outcome of the resolution was.
Thank you. All right. Yes, Mr. Rivera.
So, yes, there's always intent and there's always a venue to go off and address those things. When we originally had the whole resolution presented to us, the last 3 items, starting with the stipends and the last 3 items going forward after that, were sent over to Ledge. And then the concept behind that was to evaluate that the requirements there, and then legislation referred it over to the ICC so that they could go off, considering they are their these stipends involve their elected officers. We wanted to go off and hear the input of the ICC and the ICC reps, so that because they're more familiar with their officers, so that they could go off and put the basic requirements in there, and then Ledge could go off and move forward with those recommendations. As it was referred over to this body, that conversation and that dialogue didn't end up happening, and that's part of the reason why it also went off and didn't move forward.
Thank you.
I think that this could all be fixed. I've mentioned it before. If the ICC speaker was a popularly elected person, and that would mean with the stipulation that the ICC approves that person to run, because that was the issue in the past, was the ICC didn't want somebody who'd never been involved in the ICC to come in and be the speaker. So if that person was given the recommendation of the ICC as a whole to run, then they'd be popularly elected just like the rest of the Senate, and then they could receive a stipend, because I would be a firm believer the speaker needs a stipend.
Awesome, thank you. Tires for Liberty and then Democrats.
I just wanted to say that as one of the authors of the resolution, it did not dictate which line item it would come out of at all. it did not even reference a line item. I think that's, the way the whole thing went down, whether it was a communication breakdown or whatever, it was a bureaucratic mess, and it was pretty pathetic.
All right, and your time starts now.
I would really like to have these conversations in legislation. If legislation be called, either the vice chair can call it, or the president can direct the committee to meet, where we can go through at least a more substantive understanding of the process, and look at all the items separately on their merits. Because I feel that this resolution has unleashed a Pandora's box of bad juju on this body, on the Senate. Because if I'm not mistaken, this resolution is what prompted the scrutiny of our governing documents that said that the word updated was possibly grounds for dissolving the payments of our officers in a few months. And there's a better way to go about this. Fortunately, I know what it is.
All right, thank you. Anything else on resolution? Actually, I'm sorry, time has been expired. We adjourn at 4:22. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wait. Can I speak to you after I'm done speaking?
That's what I always do.